Hello. This is movie review of Cloud Atlas request video. Somebody requested it yesterday, and I was gonna rent the movie anyway. I went to the Redbox, and right when I got there, the guy who showed up right behind me was returning it. So I came there at the right time because it wasn't there the day before, and that's when I rented Oz, which I thought was really good. I liked Oz. So Cloud Atlas is a movie about, it's one of these like montage movies, where you have a little bit of, this guy, a little bit of this guy, and then you kind of, as the movie goes on, the different scenes have less time and they kind of replace each other more, and then it kind of ties it all together in the end. It shows how they're all related. Most of the time, those kinds of movies are crappy. I think that one's called like New Year's Eve or whatever a couple years ago. I didn't even see it, but and usually they have different actors, But in this one, because it was at different time periods, they just used the same actors for all the different scenes. But the idea is that a couple of the actors that were supposed to be reincarnations of themselves, Tom Hanks and Halle Berry, and they had the bad guy. This was like, I guess, directed by the Wachowski siblings, and I guess you can't call them the brothers because one of them turned himself into a girl. But so they have that guy from The Matrix, the bad guy from The Matrix, is the bad guy in all the scenes in this one. And now I don't think the idea was to make that all the people were reincarnations of each other, but I think some of them were. I didn't follow the dude, the little like composer guy. I don't know if he was a reincarnation of anybody, but he was reading the journal of some doctor who was a slave trader or whatever, and then so we saw the video of him, and Tom Hanks was like in all of them. Now, I think it's a cool genre. It's a really cool genre, showing reincarnations of people and their relationships. And I think this movie is going to go down in history as an epic movie, as a groundbreaking cult classic because of that. It's like a first of its kind. Mainly because of the relationship between Halle Berry's character and Tom Hanks's character, because back in '73, Tom Hanks played like a doctor or a scientist who worked for some nuclear company who wanted to like help expose the oil giant who was going to sabotage it. And he ended up he like instantly fell in love with Halle Berry, but then he gets killed, and then Halle Berry ends up exposing the company after they try to kill her. Sorry if I'm doing spoiler alerts, but I'm not so good at avoiding those. But anyways, and then they meet up again in the future, like the far future, where they speak some weird kind of language, which I thought was cool, how they have a different language. Although the words were kind of too retro. I think they should have had some of them were cool, like true. I like that, but they were using like retro. I don't know if retro words would come back, but anyways, they had to make it sound realistic. But he fell in love with her immediately again, and so it's kind of like, and so they eventually and then they got married and lived on another planet, and so it's like they didn't get to have their relationship in 1973 because he died, but then they did later. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it was also interesting how they had like when they get into the future. Like they had this one future scene that was in like 2145 in Seoul, Korea, where the oceans are really high, and they have these like people. They have like white people made up to look Asian, so I guess it was like half white, half Asian. And I mean, and that's not how half white, half Asians look. We got plenty of half white, half Asian people running around, but they put the makeup on to make them look different, like a new race from the future. I thought that was really cool, having new races. And another cool thing that they should do about, like, when they make movies about, like, just weird people who look different, because it's so far in the future, is they make different races made up to look like different people. For example, Tom Hanks' wife, way in the future, I was like, she looks weird. And then I saw her again. She was the wife of, like, the slave trader who reformed because he saved the slave. I was like, oh, hey, that's that same actress who was Tom Hanks' wife way in the future, and now they're in 1800s. She looks weird. And I looked at her and I go, oh, that's it's the Chinese actress, the Korean actress who played the Korean girl in 2145 in Seoul, just made up to look white. So if you put like, if you get a Korean girl and make her skin look white, like a white person, and even put like red freckles on her and give her like green contact lenses and like red hair, she'll look weird. It'll look like a weird, different race, dude. And same thing, I've seen like black people made up to look white. And yeah, that's what they should do, dude. They should like, make different races look like, put makeup on, keep the face structure the same, but put the makeup on to make their skin color and everything and their hair look like the opposite race. And then boom, there you've got a weird looking like person you could imagine being from the future. That's a cool technique. I like that. They had a lot of cool techniques. It was really well produced. The future scenes of the different highways, and the idea is cool. Like these different, stratified highways, and we've seen those movies with the stratified highways, but these were like energy bands, so you could pass through them. And that would have been a cool movie to see in a theater because the graphics were really good. And but there were some parts of the movie that kind of bothered. I mean, overall, I really liked the movie, but there are some parts in the movie that really bothered me. For example, like Tom Hanks in the future, they live on an island, and there are these bad guys running around on horses, and they finally attack his village. Now, if there were these bad guys around, those villagers would have been a little bit more warlike. They would have been prepared for him, and they would have talked more about this, like, they wouldn't have just been farmers, living in the valley. They would have been killed a lot more before they were at the end. And I don't think it was necessary to have so many bad guys. I mean, I think one trend for the future of movies is that they'll have a lot less just bad guys and a lot less Armageddon type scenarios. Because this was a situation where we get the technology level, and then civilization collapses. Every single movie about the future, except for Star Trek and Star Wars, is about the civilization totally collapsing. I can't think of one movie where it's about the future and it's actually a good future. We have the technology and everything, but we haven't totally fucked everything. And it's like, when the hell are we going to get one of those movies? But but as far as, there's so many possibilities for the genre of doing reincarnational movies, where you have all the different like time periods at the beginning, and then as you go towards the end, they interweave them more frequently until the end. They give you the reveal of how it all relates. And I won't explain about how it all relates in the Cloud Atlas, too much of a spoiler, but yeah, there's so many possibilities for that in movies in the future. And just to show, how like relationships never end, and then there's like unresolved relationship issues that people have to resolve them in this life, but if you don't get around to resolving them in this life, you have to resolve them in the next life. And there's all kinds of possibilities. You could have a movie about, like the lovers who never get together and they finally do in the future, like Tom Hanks and Halle Berry. Or then you could do like people who you used to be like lovers, and then they turn into enemies, or they were enemies at the beginning and then they turn into lovers in the end. And that would be really fascinating. Or like different sexes, like you're different sex throughout the life, and like maybe in one life you're like father and son or whatever, and then the next life you're lovers, like crazy shit like that. That would be pretty trippy. That would be later, after people warm up to the simpler stuff. But just different ideas, just to let people think about the subject and then figure out how it really is. Like as far as reincarnation goes, I heard from a psychic, I think, once, that you live 4 lives, like with a certain theme. So like if my life now, I have the theme of kind of being like a information engineer. Like I'm creating my history timeline now. And then after I do this, I'll go in and make like another kind of chart. I made like my Power of 10 size chart, and I'll just be making charts and stuff for the rest of my life. Like that's basically what my life is all about. And so I'll probably, for my next 4 lives, that's probably what I'll do. I'll be like, next life I'll probably be an artist, making big murals of charts and timelines or whatever, information charts. Or, and then the life after that, I'll use more technology and I'll create like 3-dimensional ones. And then the one after that, I'll be like some kind of like person who explains them to other people or whatever. And then the life after that, I'll be different, I'll be like more social or something, I'll be like a leader of a company or something, Whereas maybe so that's like the 4 lives, and the life I had before this life, maybe I was like a Native American, like scout or something, for 4 lifetimes or something like that. So, anyways, yeah, just to explore things like that, where people live one life and then another life, and they're really similar, and you can see the similarities, but you can see on the second life, like say the first person in the first life, the dude was a rock climber and he was really good, but then he died in a rock climbing accident, and then in the life after that, he's like afraid of heights and he doesn't know why, but he's really driven to like swim across the ocean, but then he like drowns, and then the life after that, he's a little bit afraid of heights, but he's really afraid of water, but he's not afraid of like, of like big animals or something, And then you could have the other person who used to be not afraid of big animals until he got eaten by one, but he was really afraid of heights, and then after 4 lives, he's not afraid of heights. He's like this total rock climber, And it just shows how people totally change in their archetypes, but then their personalities would stay the same, and and how they would learn personality lessons from each life. I mean, there's so many possibilities and so many books you could write and movies you could make. I think it's definitely a genre of the future. So I really enjoyed the movie for that. One thing that kind of bothered me was, well, I guess this was one of the earlier lives, so it could have been worked. But like Tom Hanks was a bad guy on the ship, like in the 1850s or the 1600s or whenever that was, because he was like trying to rob some dude, and then I guess the lifetime in like the early 1900s, like 1905 or whatever, he was kind of a shady, kind of a thief, shifty type of guy, but not as bad. So I guess he gets a little bit better. So that was a pretty cool character arc on that, because then by 1973 he was a really good guy, and then in the future he was a good guy. So I kind of, and like Halle Berry was only a character in 2 scenes, 1973 and then way in the future. And she was like a courageous journalist in the 73, and then way in the future, she was like the scout who was sent out to save the race by going to the top of the mountain. So she was a courageous person. So that was a similarity too. So yeah, I thought it was. I really liked Cloud Atlas, and I definitely think it's a groundbreaking movie. And if you're into, if you have an open mind and you believe in reincarnation and stuff, I think it's a good movie to watch. And if you're into science fiction and all that. It is kind of a complex movie, though, so, I mean, it's a cool movie to watch just for the visuals, so you could kind of watch it and not pay attention, but if you're going to watch it, you'd probably enjoy it more if you did pay a lot of attention, because there's a lot I didn't get. The only people I saw who were reincarnations were Tom Hanks and Halle Berry, and maybe there were other guys. I mean, I remember remembering actors, but they were kind of like side actors, supporting actors. I don't know if they were meant, because it's not realistic to just show that like everybody reincarnates over and over again, like as in the same relationships with each other. The world's not too big for that. It doesn't work that way in real life. You don't have high school people reuniting, whole groups of people reuniting later on over and over again. That doesn't happen, and so it wouldn't happen reincarnationally. But it would happen, to some degree, and that's another thing to explore in movies in the future is, just having different groups of people reincarnate. But if you're going to use the same actors playing different time periods when the main characters are reincarnating, I think it's good to only use those actors when you do mean to show that they are reincarnations of the past, and not just because it's the same actor, because then it would just get confusing. Movies of the future of this genre, I think, should take themselves really seriously to, be as accurate to reality as possible. So the people who produce them should definitely believe in reincarnation and understand, be interested in all the different concepts of them and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like Cloud Atlas. Let's see, what should my rating system go? Out of 5 fingers, I give it a 4 fingers out of 5 fingers. If it was a little bit more like realistic, streamlined, in terms of the reincarnational laws, I would have given it a 5. But since it's a groundbreaker, I'd give it a 4.5. I give it a 4.5 fingers out of 5, so I'll give it one of these. All right, peace out.